So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gashi's Command 2, the tallest man in back Africa. It is another beautiful morning, a morning like no other when we are waiting for Baba to organize his meeting in Kamukoji. So if you are in Nairobi and its environs, Kiambu, Thika, you can please grace that ceremony. Give Baba a shoulder to lean on, because this is one person who has fought for this country when all the other people have failed the country. But as we wait for the meeting and to see how the day is going to unfold, I want us to take a look at what is happening or what happened yesterday at Primary Schools Heads Association in Mombasa, when we had the Principal Secretary, Berio Kipsang, the one who is in charge of the basic education, declaring that boarding schools from grade 1 to grade 9 will be abolished. They will not be allowed in Kenya. They will not be allowed in this country because, according to him, the parents are running away from their responsibilities. And I want to give a critical analysis of this move, which in my view leaves a lot to be desired. Unapoangalia utapata ya kwamba whereas boarding schools have their disadvantages and advantages, they are only bad, especially when you take a grade 1 to 6 or even 7, let's say grade 1 to 7 to boarding school. It's not good. It is not healthy unless it is inevitable. But for grade 8 and 9, I think they are old enough to know what boarding school entails. Again, the move is ill-advised because when you look at it, there are some reasons why the parents will always take their children to boarding school. And for instance, if you look at the nomadic people, those who live a nomadic pastoralist kind of life, they move from one place to the other. So do you expect them to be moving from different schools? Do you expect them to be transferring their children from one place to the other, to be transferring these children all the time? Because this is what the government implies. If, for instance, it is the Maasai who keeps on moving from one place to the other, because that is the nature of their life, looking for pastures for their animals, are you telling them that they have to move, they have to transfer their children to different schools? This is not tenable. This is not practical. Again, when you look at the boarding schools, you realize that there's some students who are there. There's some children who are in boarding school, not because they want to be in boarding school, but because they are physically challenged. For instance, somebody is disabled, somebody is physically challenged, cannot be able to walk. We will always walk on wheelchair. Kwa mtoto kama huyu ni vizuri wakati ako katika shule ya bweni, na akiwa katika shule ya bweni, the movements are restricted, the movements are enhanced, the movements are limited, and it is very, very good for them when they are in boarding school, and it helps them to for example, ukiangalia mtoto ambaye anapitia kwenye matope, kwenye maji, na ana changamoto ya mwili, ya kimaubile, there's nothing we can do about it. So this one, I think, is a wrong move. Again, there are some orphans that see the schools as their home. Wale ambao kwa mfano wako katika Starehe Boys. No, Starehe is a home and a school. Kuna wengi ambao hawana mahali pengine ambapo unaweza kwenda, hawana mahali pengine ambapo unaweza kupeleka watoto wao. They have to be there, and they don't have any other place. And there are some people who are willing to support this kind of people. They are willing to support this kind of children when they are here. And kile ambacho kipo ni kwamba hawa watoto wezi wakaenda mahali pengine. They cannot go anywhere because they have nowhere that they can call their home. Watoto kama hawa haifai kuwa unawabia ati waende mahali pengine. They should be in boarding schools because that is the reality. That should be the thing. And again, there are some parents who the nature of their work just calls for this because they don't have anything to do. For instance, there are some people who work overseas, because what we have in this country ni kwamba there are no jobs, there are no vacancies. Hakuna kazi. There's a problem of unemployment. That is why you find people looking for greener pastures outside the country. Some countries you cannot move with their children. For instance, in Qatar, in Dubai, you don't have to move their children because it may not even be tenable. It may not even be economical. And in Kenya, you're not getting jobs. And if you are getting jobs somewhere, and you can be able to educate your child, well and good. kwa sababu hauwezi ukasema, kwa mfano ukikaa na mtoto nyumbani, just because of you're supposed to be responsible parent, because you're supposed to stay with your child, na hakuna kazi, utamlisha nini? What are you going to use to feed such kind of a child? Kwa hivyo kile ambacho tunaweza kusema ni kwamba wakati mwingine inabidi, wakati mwingine inafaa kujua hivi mambo mengine hayawezekani. Again, when you look at some boarding schools, some boarding schools give a very good exposure to their children. And once children are exposed to various kind of life, for instance, they become responsible, they become aware of many cultures, they learn to respect one another. When this happens, it is good for the child. It is good for the social upbringing of the child. Kuliko pale ambapo unakaa pale nyumbani, hajui kama kuna watu wengine, and even the language itself, you realize that they are capable of communicating in various languages, capable of communicating in English, communicating in Kiswahili, not necessarily mother tongue, but when you keep the child just there at home, kile ambacho kitatokea ni kwamba huyu mtoto atakuwa tu aelewa ile lugha yake ya kwanza, lugha ya mama, and in this way you'll be limiting the child to the dynamic world that we are living. Jambo lingine ambalo tunafaa kuelewa ni kwamba when you look at boarding schools, kile ambacho kipo, there are some things that children learn from each other. They learn how to live with one another. They learn how to care about each other. They learn how to cope with various situations, how to manage their finances. I'm not saying that the parents cannot be able to help them manage their finances. Yes, there are some disadvantages, I don't deny that, but there are also disadvantages. So if this is the kind of freedom that you've been talking about, I want to differ with you. This is not the freedom you are talking about. Kwa sababu kile ambacho tunafaa kuwa ni kwamba wanafaa kupewa uhuru wa kufanya uamuzi ule ambao wanataka. I think the government cannot decide what we want with your children. The government cannot decide for us. We know what is best for our children. We know what is best for our brothers. We know what is best for our neighbors. We know what is best for our relatives. But the government, yes, it should provide a policy guideline, but it cannot keep on saying what we should do. Okay, in developed countries, you realize that these schools are the in thing. Boarding schools are very, very limited. Again, when you look at Kenya, it is said that 28% of students are in boarding schools compared to the national percentage, international percentage. The international percentage, I understand, is 15%. So there's a reason why Kenyan parents prefer their children to be in boarding schools. And when you look at it, there are some disadvantages, there are also some advantages. What there is that the parents need to be involved in this, in making some decisions. Kwa sababu, if you ask me, I would pose some questions, some challenges to Belio Kipsang. Who decided this? When was this decided? When did the cabinet sit and came up with this policy decision? Kwa sababu mambo mengine ni mambo ambayo yanahitaji even to be gazetted, because you realize that some countries moved in this direction. For instance, I understand Rwanda was able to move in this direction in the year 2014. Another country, can't remember which, that moved in the same direction. And where we are moving, we need to be a bit logical. We need to move slowly. We need to move slowly with something that is structured, not haphazard decisions, not the declarations ati mtu akiamka amwe jambo hili litafanyika halitafanyika, because what there is that the next thing is likely to be in high school. We know that parents are spending a lot of money when it comes to boarding schools, and the education that is offered in primary school, not sorry for that, the education that is offered in day schools is the same education that is offered in boarding schools. So sometimes it has some disadvantages and advantages. So what I would advise is that let all the stakeholders be involved. Let us not have just one man affair, one man who decides that this is good for everybody, this is good for you. If it worked for you, it can not work for everybody. Let's see what the country holds. So if you are here for the first time, this is Guys Kaman, the tallest man in Black Africa. Kindly subscribe to our channel, and if you're in the other channel which crashed, kindly come to this one, which is a very vibrant and moving very fast, growing very fast. For those who have joined us, we're very, very humbled. And kindly share this video and tell others to join us. May you have a blessed day.